And a good day to you. Jerry Usher, Debbie Georgiani with you. We are the co-hosts of Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, and you are the key ingredient to this program, especially today as we head into Memorial Day weekend. We have just really picked a topic where we want you to reminisce for a minute. Maybe you have been, because we let you know yesterday and it's been on our social media what our topic is today. Who are you remembering in a special way? Memorial Day originally was a holiday or an occasion to commemorate the dead who have served our country in war and in military service. I think, Debbie, for a lot of us, it's become a day to remember others, family members and friends who have passed and so forth. But we just want our listeners to call in today. I think it's going to be a moving program, Debbie, people sharing who they're remembering in a special way right now this weekend.
So if you have somebody that you are remembering, or somebody that's just on your heart and on your mind that has passed, like Jerry said, then please call in and share with us who that person is, why you are remembering them. And it's just a beautiful show and a beautiful conversation about keeping memories alive. And it's really, it helps us to have that sense of peace, that sense of hope and joy, and all the things that comes with remembering someone who has either, maybe it's a military person who has they've sacrificed their life so that we can have our freedom, or maybe it's somebody who has taught you to be a better person, somebody who has introduced God to you. Whatever is on your heart, share with us, because we can really learn from it. 1-800-585-9396.
I was doing some research on the history of Memorial Day, and there are a lot of things that are uncertain. For example, like when it actually was first observed and where it was first observed, and the states that were the first to start observing it as a holiday. But one thing is for sure, it was originated as Decoration Day after the American Civil War in 1868, and of course it's been it's flowered, Debbie, into, I think rightly so, a holiday to remember the fallen who have served our country in the armed forces. Sometimes we send our troops off and we give them a grand send-off, and then they can fall out of our minds, especially those who don't come home. And it's really sad. And so for those, especially as you're listening right now, if you've lost a loved one in the armed services, we thank you for giving us a son, a daughter, a husband, a brother, somebody to serve our country. We offer our condolences for that. And we just want you to have, again, this opportunity to share really with the world how much that person meant to you. 1-800-585-9396.
Well, phone lines are lighting up, which means so many of you have a person that is very special to you. And so we want to, whatever capacity you want to share it, feel free to do that. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to fit into the Memorial Day weekend, type of person that you're remembering. Maybe it's somebody that has helped you in your faith walk. Maybe it's a priest. Maybe it's somebody who just you really feel that has impacted you in a very deep way, and you want to keep their memory alive. And so call in and share. 1-800-585-9396. I do know that a lot of people are going to call in, Jerry, for military, because all of us, I think, have somebody we know and love that has served in the military and in the armed forces. And so it is that beautiful time, that beautiful weekend for us to remember their service and their sacrifice for us. And I think it's really I think we deserve to sit and contemplate that. Sometimes we say thank you. Sometimes I think about this all the time, like even with our police force, the police officers, we say thank you, officer, for taking care of us in our community. But sometimes to really think about that, of what it takes when somebody is going to put their life on the line for us. And that's huge. That's a big gift. So share with us, dear listeners, 1-800-585-9396.
I don't know that I personally know anybody who died serving our country, family members, for example. But I want to take this occasion, and then we have Veterans Day for this, but I still want to use the occasion to thank my brother Joe, who served 23 or 24 years in the Navy, and my brother-in-law Larry, who served about the same time in the Marine Corps. And Debbie, I think before we go to the break, we got full phone lines here. Maybe, do you have someone that you're remembering in a special way this weekend?
Well, yeah, absolutely. It would be my dad. He was in the Navy, and so that is appropriate for this weekend. But just I think about him often. He had a real passion for. He was a Navy corpsman, so he was that type of person. A medic. He always wanted to help others and make people feel well, and I think about that often, especially when I'm not feeling that good. And then I think of my dad, because he was always, I think he wanted to be a doctor. He ended up being an insurance agent, but we always knew that he wanted to be a doctor down deep. And so he got to kind of fulfill that a little bit in the Navy. And so, yeah, I do think of him on this weekend. How about you, Jerry?
There are so many. My parents are both deceased. I don't believe my father served in the military. I have a lot of priest friends. My uncle, who was a priest, I remember him very, very dearly as well. So it's just a good opportunity for us to get in touch with our roots, with those who have meant so much to us, especially those who served in the armed forces. So as we get set to take your phone calls here, Jerry and Debbie on Take Two on EWTN Radio, we got full phone lines. So we want to hear from you too, though. So we'll work our way through as many calls as we can. Who are you remembering this weekend? That's what we're talking about. To share your take, which I'm sure will be very meaningful for you and for all of us, 1-800-585-9396.
This week on Register Radio, we're talking about Islam. Why are millions of Muslims converting to Christianity? Jeanette DeMello and author Sherry Waddell look at the reasons many are leaving Islam to follow Christ. Also, Jeanette and writer Patty Armstrong offer a taste of the ways priests, who are also chefs, feed their flocks. I'm Tom Price. Please join Jeanette and me for Register Radio this weekend on EWTN.
Coming to EWTN Television.
Join the Archdiocese for Military Services in prayer as we honor the men and women who are serving or have served in our nation's armed forces. EWTN takes you to the Basilica of the National Shrine of the Immaculate Conception as the Most Reverend Timothy Broglio celebrates the Archdiocese for the Military Services Memorial Mass, Monday at noon Eastern and again at midnight Eastern on EWTN.
How do you honor Mary during the month of May? Share your photos and stories with us. Email communications@ewtn.com and we'll post as many as possible on our social media sites.
Hello, this is Bishop Robert Baker from the Diocese of Birmingham in Alabama.
I'm Peggy Normandin, but you can call me Catholic.
Hello, friends. This is Father Wade Menezes of the Fathers of Mercy. Thanks for listening to the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
It's a day of remembrance on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. We're so glad you joined us. We are remembering those and honoring those that have made an impact in our lives and that we love. And I just wanted to say our phone lines are full, and I'm reading some of the comments. And Jerry, I have to tell you, I'm getting very emotional. I don't know why. I don't. Maybe it is because it is Memorial Day weekend, but so many of our wonderful listeners are calling in and honoring people that are near and dear to them, and so I can tell this is going to be an emotional day. Anyway, go ahead. You take it. I think I'm going to be a passenger for this one.
Well, we got a lot of great calls and takes to get to, so we take you typically in the order that you called. So that means Chris was prompt and called in first from St. Clairsville, Ohio, listening to EWTN Radio on Sirius XM 130. Hi, Chris. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hi.
Hello there.
I just wanted to remember both my parents. Both of them were served in the United States Navy. That's how they met. They served in the Vietnam War. They were both hospital corpsmen. So, Debbie, when you were telling about your dad, that just made it more special. But both my parents taught me how to be so patriotic, and this weekend is like one of the ultimate weekends that I enjoy so much, because I feel that that's when I can give so much more thanks to my parents and the way they raised me. We used to live in a town in southern Ohio, and everything that they have is all about patriotism. The veterans, they have the oldest Memorial Day parade in the country, and which, of course, we're missing that because we're 4 hours away now. But something my dad had instilled in us, we went to the parade. We participated in the parade every year. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's very, and since they've been gone, I mean, they've been gone 16 years. So.
Wow. Chris, can you share your mom and dad's first names so we can just add them? We always remember everybody.
Okay, Frank and Sherry.
Frank and Sherry?
Yeah, Shari, Sherry.
A-R-I, Sherry. Got it. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And do you, so we share the same thing about our parents, and I wanted to ask you this: do you put out the flags, and do you do all
Yes.
You do, yeah.
Oh yes, I put flags out, and actually I put so many flags out around our yard. It's almost like yard. My husband kind of like, oh boy, here comes the flags. And we put them literally all the way around the yard, and I keep buying more just so that I can put more and more out. So yeah,
That's beautiful.
So yeah, we put all the 2-foot sticks and all along the yard, along all of our properties. So.
That is beautiful. I have to just, before we let you go, I have to ask you just one question, because both your parents served in the military. I wanted to ask you this question. If your parents were alive today, what would they be? What would they say to all of us in this world we live in about, because if you turn on the news, you can see there's such a disrespect of the flag and everything.
Oh my gosh, my dad would be so cringing, because he really instilled our freedom. I mean, he really, really discussed so much freedoms on us girls that whatever you do, always keep up the freedoms, because once you give up on a freedom, it's gone. And my dad, for one, of course, my mom, I mean, she backed everything up my dad said, but I mean, my dad was more the activist type person, and I think that, both of them loved to volunteer. So I mean, that I think they would both be cringing. I mean, it's just, they would be totally sad on knowing what is going on with our government, and all these things are in the media right now. I mean, it would be sickening to my parents. So.
Yeah. Well, Chris, thank you so much.
Everything that they fought for.
Absolutely. And a lot of people not only would feel that way, but probably do feel that way. Chris, thanks for joining us and getting our phone calls started here on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. We appreciate that. We'll pray for your parents, pray for you, and hope that you have a wonderful, blessed, relaxing, restful weekend. From St. Clairsville, Ohio, we go to Clare in Kennewick, Washington, listening to EWTN Radio on Sacred Heart Radio. Hi, Claire. Welcome.
Hi. Thanks for taking my call. I'm good. How are you?
We're doing well. Thank you.
Thank you for this show. It's just wonderful. Love to listen to it.
Thank you, Claire.
I also have a brother, Joe, and he served in the Los Angeles Police Department for 25 years, and I want to thank him for that. And I have a a nephew, David, who's in the Navy, just got off a 6-month deployment on a nuclear submarine, so we want to thank him for his service. And my call is for my father, who passed away, passed into eternal life in 2013. So he would have been 100 years old this July. And what a wonderful man I want to remember today. He was not in the military, but the father of 10 children, prayed the rosary every night on his knees until and when he got more and more elderly and frail, he'd pray the last decade on his knees. And then his last few months from his bed at home, praying the rosary all the time, praying for all of us. So I want to honor this great man because this is a Catholic radio station, and this was such a great Catholic man. He took such good care of all of us, sent us all to Catholic schools. Was a humble man. He wasn't a big man in our church, but just so humble. What a humble, praying man. His name is Joseph, and he is so much like the foster father of Jesus, Joseph. He taught us all so well. Was such a holy, humble man. Basically, at the end, we'd have many after prayers after the rosary that he'd say every night, and one of them was, "Oh, St. Joseph, holy guardian of Jesus and Mary, assist us with thy prayers." And wasn't this a perfect example of a man who assisted us with our prayers, praying that rosary every day, or if we're on vacations in the car, just such a wonderful man, just humble, holy, taught us all so well. So I just went, as soon as I was actually coming back from morning mass when I heard your prompt about remembering somebody, so I just called in right away and had to talk to you about my father, Joseph. Just a great man.
Beautiful.
And a symbol of, just to me, so much like Saint Joseph.
Sounds like it, Claire. That's beautiful. And I just, the thought that occurs to me is, as you're describing your father, even though you said he didn't serve in the military, he's exactly the type who would have. Perhaps God didn't lead him in that direction to serve, or whatever the circumstances were. But there are so many, Debbie, I think, similarities between as the type of man that Claire is describing and those who have served in our military, and especially given their lives over the centuries for our country. This is the type of person who absolutely would have made an incredible serviceman, I believe.
Oh yeah, absolutely, Claire, and I love just the way you talk about him. It's so beautiful. You can hear how much it comes through loud and clear, how much respect and honor and just love you have for him, and it's beautiful. It really is. And so I'm glad you took that prompting, and I'm glad you called in and got to share it with the whole entire world, because now we can all honor your father as well.
Joseph, yes.
Anything else you wanted to share?
Well, I just wanted to add, since you brought up the military, he actually was drafted into World War II, packed up everything, said his goodbyes to his parents, and had his physical, and did not pass the physical.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
He did his best, but God had a different plan for him.
Yeah.
That's why I said whatever the circumstances were, because it just seems like somebody like that would have not hesitated to answer the call of his country to go and serve. So, Claire, thank you. Thanks so much for joining us here on this program. We're glad the timing worked out well, and hope you got many blessings and graces through the Eucharist this morning at Mass.
Thank you. Undoubtedly, yes. Thank you.
Great. Thanks for joining
Claire.
us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Wow. Don't you just I love the Take Two family. I think we have like the best family. This is such a great, it's great. It really is. Okay. And this is, you've got to know this. My favorite name, Grace, listening to EWTN radio in Hartford, Texas. Hi, Grace. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hi, how y'all doing?
Doing
Good,
well,
Grace.
Grace.
How are you?
I love your show. Thank you for accepting my call.
You're welcome.
Jerry. I'm so nervous.
Don't be nervous. Tell us, Grace. You got a great name, so you're already starting off great.
Oh, thank you. I just wanted to let everybody out there know that we're honoring Elmer L. Matthews Jr. here at the Methodist in Hartford, Texas, and it's an honor to be working that day. He's one of the Marines that got found in the Pacific Islands, and Elmer, his family was a member here at the church, and the sister just called that they had a pew that was donated in his memory, and I feel thrilled to be working Saturday for his service.
So you're having a service for
one of the Marines.
One of the Marines. Okay, and this is on Saturday you're having the service?
Yes, ma'am, at 2 o'clock.
At 2 o'clock. Wow.
Mhm.
And so you'll be present there. You said you're going to be working it?
Yes, ma'am. I'm the custodian.
Oh, good. Okay. Okay, perfect. Well, that
And,
should be a wonderful
and I am
experience.
so patriotic and thrilled. I'm going to be wearing all my red, white, and blues.
Don't you love that? It is good. I love that because that's exactly like when we were talking with Chris and how she decorates with the flags, and I think that's a great time to do that and to wear red, white, and blue and really, do it up strong. I think that's awesome, Jerry.
Yeah, Grace, I want to be clear. They found the remains of this Marine, correct? After like 70
Yes,
years
sir.
or something like that. Yeah,
Like 71 years.
Yeah,
Oh,
I remember
okay.
hearing about that story, and it's beautiful that he's being honored this way and
Yes,
being
sir.
laid to rest and finally coming home. So that's a beautiful story.
Okay, so I didn't realize that. So they are. Will his remains be there, Grace?
Yes, ma'am. It'll be
Okay.
a casket and it remains, yes.
Oh,
And,
wow. Okay.
And you know how everybody thinks, oh, barbecue and lake.
Mm-hmm.
Today is the first year that we really are celebrating Memorial Weekend for that.
Right.
for
Right.
Amor.
Beautiful. Well, we'll be united with you in prayer for tomorrow. What time is it? Is in Texas? What time will it be? The service.
At 2 o'clock.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, and I
yes.
wanted to mention one more thing.
Sure.
My husband, I'm so happy he's registered for being a diaconate. He's gonna
Wow.
the diaconate. Mm-hmm.
Very cool. So, Grace, you'll have to keep checking in with us and let us know how that's going with his classes and stuff.
Thank you, and I'm asking for prayers.
Absolutely. What's your husband's first name?
Mike Guerrero.
Mike.
Junior.
Okay. Congratulations. That's awesome, Jerry.
Well, yeah, and Claire, I just real quick, we've got a break coming up. Then we're going to get to all of you on the line. So thank you for your patience. But as the church understands the diaconate formation period, Grace, it's not only the husband, but it's also you as the wife have to give your consent and be very, very closely involved in that. So I bet you're looking forward to going through this process as a couple. Yeah.
I am so blessed to be going along with him. And yes.
That's
Beautiful.
great. That's great, Grace. Wow. Well, we'll be with you in spirit tomorrow at the service, and Grace, and please tell your husband that we said early congratulations. That's awesome that he's going through the process, the formation.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks. So you're not nervous anymore, huh, Grace? You don't
No,
sound nervous.
no, I feel really relaxed now. I love y'all.
Oh, we love you too. We love you
Thank
too,
you.
Grace. God bless you.
Debbie has a way of putting people at ease. So good job, Deb.
And thank you, but I'm very emotional today because when so many of us are remembering our loved ones, it really touches me deeply. It's really beautiful. I always think to myself, I hope somebody remembers me someday. Really, you think about it. It's really beautiful to remember somebody that's passed. It really is. Anyway, it was a beautiful call.
You've got a lot of people who will remember you, especially now, not only Marty, your husband, and all of your family and friends, but your entire Take Two listening family. So.
That's right. That's right. Amen to that.
All right. It's Memorial Day weekend. We are inviting your calls, your remembrances today, especially, as we said early in the show, especially for men and women who have given their lives serving our country in the armed forces. But we, just for the purpose of this show, have said if you don't have anyone who fits that description, but there's a father, a mother, a loved one, somebody that you would like to honor who is deceased, you're welcome to do that as well. 1-800-585-9396 is our number. 1-800-585-9396. Again, if you're on hold there, please be patient. We've got Liz and Moren and Patrick and room for you on an open phone line. Who are you remembering this weekend? As Grace rightly pointed out, sometimes all of the true heroes get lost amidst the grilled burgers and hot dogs and parades and all of that stuff, all of which are quite fine, but we want to remember those who are real special to us.
60 Seconds with Father Mitch Pacwa.
It's not just enough to hear the word and to preach it, but we also have to have an obedience to the Word of God. That's also why we have this urgency about doing the things that our Lord says. St. James says, not just hearers of the Word, but doers of the Word. Not everyone who says, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but those who do all the words that I say. Because he'll otherwise say, go away, I never knew you. Do you want Jesus to say, I don't know you? That's not going to be a happy moment if it happens. You want him to say, I did know you. So every one of us disciples is called personally by name. Jesus does know you, of course, but only if you do his word is it going to be reciprocal.
The people you know and trust are on EWTN.
All of our advances in social networking and communication are amazing, but if we don't keep it all in place, we might end up in touch with the news of the day, 1,000, quote, friends online, and 1 million work emails, but we lose touch with the most important things in life, like the people right in front of us, and God revealing himself to us through the experiences of daily life. I know it's not easy, but you have to seize the silence. Carve out moments to unplug. Read a book, say a prayer, or just stand in the sun and take a deep breath. All the noise will be waiting for you when you're done, but you'll face it all a little differently. In the words of Mother Teresa, the fruit of silence is prayer. The fruit of prayer is faith. The fruit of faith is love. The fruit of love is service. And the fruit of service is peace. If you don't have peace, go back to step 1. Got silence? This is Chris Stefanik from RealLifeCatholic.com on EWTN Radio.
Thanks for joining us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. We're getting ready for Memorial Day, so we thought we would do a show on remembering. And you are sharing from your hearts, and it's really very moving, so thank you for that. As a line gets open, please jump in at 1-800-585-9396. We're going to move right along to Liz, listening to EWTN Radio in South Dakota on Real Presence Radio. Hi, Liz. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hi, Liz. Hi, Jerry and Debbie.
Hi, Liz. Good. Better now that you called.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I'm so full of emotion I can't get the name straight.
Me too, Liz. I'm right with you.
Oh, it's funny. My name, Elizabeth, it goes back generations and generations of Irish Catholic. However, I'm missing my father. He died 1 year last month, a few months before his 90th birthday. And this funeral was a 9-gun salute and went in May of last year. So I need to get out there to visit his grave. And, his dementia started years before he died, and then the full-time Alzheimer's came on fast and quick, where he let me drive his car. He was actually pretty calm about it, that he was scared that, when you get to that point, you wonder how they're going to be your parents. But the more I helped, the more all my brothers and sisters helped. I think he was very glad for that. Mm-hmm. He was an honest man, very honest. He had great humility. He was a physicist and an engineer, electrical, mechanical engineer, and he went to Brown University on the GI Bill after World War II.
Wow.
And, so he never raised us as Catholic. I think I tried to get him to understand, how that God didn't create war, but my father was so upset about, I could see it in his face, about all the people he saw die. Mm-hmm. And what they had to do to survive. Cigarettes were given out as rations back then, and as I learned in psychology, as he got older, he loved to talk about the World War II. And this was the first time I ever heard a lot of stories from it. It was wonderful. When I was in college, he told me about malaria that I never knew he had. But back then, they only had one shot for malaria if you were out in World War II, you had to lay down until you felt better. That's all it was. And he said he never complained. He was a hard worker since he was 11, you know.
Mm-hmm.
The typical dad, you know. I walked 2 miles to school uphill in the snow, you know.
Yeah. Liz, do we have your dad's name in our prayer book? Your dad's first name?
Sure, Franklin.
Franklin? Okay. Beautiful.
It's strange. You know, I think he went so more downhill when my mother died just a year before him, and then my divorce, it just came in threes just before that. So,
Right.
past 4 years, I've had pretty much teary-eyed days crying for my father, who I really miss talking with. He would call and we would talk for hours, and I try to write down the stories so my son could have them.
Right.
And I got some really fascinating and awful information, but that's how World War II was. And I think he didn't care anymore after the last of his siblings died. He's the one of 5.
Right.
Or from his parents.
And that happens, Liz. That happens when after people pass on, and sometimes they're so connected and they kind of almost somewhat give up or let go a little, and then it starts to decline. Liz, let me ask you, it's only been a little over a year, so it's still very raw inside of you, right?
It is. I put on Errol Garner. He was my dad was also a jazz pianist on the side, and his favorite artist was Errol Garner, and I put that jazz tape on CD just so I can cry and get it out. And
sure.
And I'll say this is for you, Dad. And when he would go on 747s to France, for example, to show his hospital equipment that he designed, there was always a piano up on the second floor of the plane. I've never been on one, so I don't know. And he would just entertain everybody.
Right. Well, that's good though. But music is very therapeutic. Liz, before I have your dad Franklin in, but now I have to add your mom because you mentioned your mom passed before your dad. So you need to give me your mom's name if that's okay.
Sure. She had an earlier onset of Alzheimer's. Her name is Linda.
Linda. Okay. Real quickly, Liz, I want to share with you about going back to music. I think that is a great way to heal and let you express your emotions. I do the same thing. My dad was into classical and marching band music, and and it's so funny when every time I hear it, I think the same thing, and it allows me to remember. It brings his memory very close to me, and then it allows me to feel all those emotions and the sadness that they're not with us here on earth. But then it's always great, I think, for everybody when we lose somebody we love, and is to really put our minds and our hearts into the concept of eternity. Because when we start to contemplate and meditate and think about and even imagine what eternity feels like, it really does allow us to move past the human emotions that here on earth that we've lost somebody and get into the kind of bigger God view of things. And so I don't know if you've ever done that. When I imagine what eternity looks like, feels like, and I'm going to see my dad, my uncle, and everything, all those people that went before. It does allow me to move past the emotion. So I don't know if you've ever done that, but you might want to try that because it feels good. It really does, and it brings comfort. Jerry?
I'm just very touched by all of these calls today, and Liz and so many others are just reminding me that our parents are in us. Really, in a real way. I mean, we are their flesh and blood. We have their DNA.
Right.
And so, there's a part of them in us, and that's a good thing. And the more they impart to us, and the healthier that is, and the more beautiful practices that we've heard, praying the rosary, and the types of music and things, and we can stay in touch with them through many of these means. But I think there's a part of them that will always be in us. And so these are beautiful calls that you're sharing today. And Liz, thank you. We'll let you go on that note because we got several other phone calls here. 1-800. Thank you, Liz, is for the call, 800-585-9396. Who are you remembering in a special way as we head into Memorial Day weekend? All right, Maureen, we give a Patience Award, and you definitely get a share in it, if not the whole thing today, listening to EWTN Radio on Denver Catholic Radio in Fort Collins, Colorado. Hi, Maureen. Welcome.
Hi, good morning. How are you all?
Oh, doing
well.
Really well.
Thanks,
Thank
Maureen.
you so much.
And I'm really appreciating your program today. I do have something that I want to just mention that probably isn't going to make me very popular, but it was definitely set aside for the military who have died and in defense for our country and giving us all of our freedoms. And it should be also extended that, I agree with firefighters and policemen being, included, but I think that's what it was meant for, is the military for our country. Right. But I appreciate your thoughts behind that in wanting to honor people that made a difference in people's lives, but I just had to give my honest opinion about that.
Well, Maureen, if I could just make a quick comment on that. No, Maureen, and thank you, Maureen. You'll never be unpopular on this show.
I was just going to say the same thing.
Accidentally.
No, we agree with you, Maureen. But go ahead, Jerry. Share why we.
Well, I don't know if you were listening to the first, say, 5 minutes of the show. We did make that point, Maureen, that I was actually looking at the Wikipedia article about Memorial Day, and we talked about how I believe it was Decoration Day or something, and it really is for armed services men and women who have given their lives in service. But for the purpose of this show today, Maureen, we just simply, because we don't know, we could take a chance and say, well, you can only call if you lost a family member in active duty or something and maybe not get any calls. And plus, we just feel like it's just a good opportunity to let us all remember somebody. But we agree with you completely, Maureen, about the meaning of Memorial Day. I hope that helps a little bit.
Yes, it does. So I apologize if I misconstrued and misunderstood.
No problem.
Not at all. Not at all, Maureen. And you're good.
Can I still talk about my loved ones?
Absolutely. Sure. You go right ahead.
All right. Thank you. Well, and my mom and dad, on both of their sides, their ancestors, they did have many family members who did fight in the wars. Both of my grandfathers fought in World War I, and my mom had an uncle, Art Palrang, who died in the Spanish-American War in Nicaragua, and that was right before it was after the Depression, or still during the Depression, before World War II. So he died down there. But my parents met. My dad, it was right after World War II. Our dad, there's 5 of us, fought in World War II, the Korean War, in Vietnam. So it was his entire career. And my mom was a nurse, and she was heading towards, serving as a nurse. But then the war ended. But she was, our mom, Mary, Slim and Mary. She was the perfect Navy wife, keeping everything at home and, serving that way and raising all of us. And our parents, I miss my parents terribly, and my heart really goes out to Liz with her dad just dying a year and a month ago, I believe she said. Yep. So I'm really sad for her. But our dad, he did everything right. He raised us just to do the right thing and to be good American citizens. And I'm so grateful for my parents, and I miss them terribly. And they made such an influence on us. There's 13 grandchildren, and all of our kids will never forget our parents, and they'll pass down those qualities. And I'm glad I have a sister in Fort Collins, and we go to the cemetery to, just as a place of remembrance to our parents' gravesite. But I miss them so much. I wish I had another day with them.
Right. Maureen, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Chris at the beginning. I don't know if you heard the beginning of the first call of the show, but her parents met they're both military as well, and you have a long line of military family. So I'm going to ask you the same question. If any of your extended your parents, anybody in the military in your family, if they were alive today, what would they tell us about what's happening? I'm curious. What would they share
today?
Yeah,
today in our country, in the world.
Yes,
they would shake their heads. They really would. Their mouths would be closed, and they would shake their heads and just be looking at the television screen or whatever, because when 9/11 happened, I can remember watching the television, the boob tube, our dad called it, with my folks. And I said, I bet you never would have expected this to have happened to our country after, all the sacrifices. And that's what they would just shake their heads. But then they really did have great faith that it's going to end up being all right, but we can't just sit on our haunches and do nothing.
Right.
Yeah,
but
Maureen.
They would just be shaking. I don't think they'd believe it, and how quickly it's happened.
That's a great point, Maureen, and I'm shaking my head too, thinking the men and women who have served this country, and especially those who have died for our country and our freedoms. I just have to believe they didn't do that for the sake of legalized marijuana and transgender bathrooms. I just don't think that those were the things that they were fighting for. So, Maureen, you make some great points. And is there anything else you wanted to add, Maureen, before we go?
I voted no for pot legalization, so I voted no. But thanks, you guys, and God bless you and everyone today.
God bless you.
If anybody gets a chance, go to a veterans cemetery or any cemetery that has veterans markers and just walk through. And
we'll do that, Maureen.
Military when you see them too. All right, bye guys.
God bless you, Maureen. Call anytime. You're very popular on this program. So.
All right, thank you.
All right, God bless. I'm really convicted, Debbie, as I'm hearing these calls. I'm just going to make a global confession right here. I remember when I turned 18 and they had just reinstituted the draft, I think is the right way to say that. So I had to go to the post office and register for the draft, and I was nervous. I don't know that I would have had the constitution within me, the makeup, the virtuous character that I'm hearing from our callers here. I don't know. Maybe I would have. I never did get drafted, and chances are I was born with club feet and couldn't run real well, and so they probably would have, not let me in anyway. But I just think back to that time, and these are heroes, and the people who stayed behind. Maureen, I think, mentioned those who kept the home fires burning. So I'm convicted. I'm definitely convicted by what I'm hearing on the show today.
I am as well. And Jeff Burson is standing in for Rich Jesse as our producer today, and he wanted to just add that he is honoring his dad, who passed away last year, John. He served in Germany at the end of World War II. Did I say that? Yeah, I did say that. Okay,
you did say that. Right.
I am tongue-tied. I'm right with you, Jerry. This is a very emotional show, and thank you all for sharing from your hearts, because it's really moving us. Patrick, you have been also you're going to share that Patience Award. You've been waiting so patiently. You're listening to EWTN Radio in South Bend, Indiana, on Redeemer Radio. Hi, Patrick. Welcome to Take Two.
Hi. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
I appreciate it. Redeemer Radio is out of Little Flower Catholic Church here in South Bend. I want to send out blessings and gratitude to everyone who has served in the armed forces in any capacity, and also to their families, because I believe they paid a sacrifice too. I have a comment that is maybe a little different, but I wanted to make a comment that when we talk about those that have served in the military and who have given their lives in service, we tend to call them fallen heroes. And I don't have a problem at all with calling them heroes. My problem, the situation I find myself in is that for those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice by giving their life in service to our country for so many years and in dedicated service, since they have paid the ultimate price, I would like, and I have always called them the ultimate heroes. In part because fallen has a different connotation in some manner, as if
a wrong was committed or something. Yeah.
Pardon?
Well, like a wrong was committed, or they were made a mistake, or is that what you're getting at? That fallen,
something along those lines, exactly. Because fallen has a different connotation to me, and in part the reason I'm saying this is that for someone who has paid the ultimate sacrifice in combat, to have their children hear that they were fallen, I have a little problem with that. For someone, I would want them to know that their parents, whether it's their mother or their father, paid the ultimate sacrifice, and they are ultimate heroes. And I think that having any type of compassion for those survivors, and to pay the ultimate respect to those that have given their life, that if that terminology would help any of their surviving children deal with that loss even a little bit better, could make a more positive impact.
Yeah, Patrick, a couple thoughts that I have come to mind, and Debbie may have some as well. And you make an interesting point. It's one that I had never thought about before. I would just simply say, and I know you'd agree completely because this is what you're saying, and that is those who we sometimes refer to as fallen actually rose to the occasion of heroism. It takes somebody of incredible character to do that, and I'm reminded, helped by our call screener, Matt Gabensky, that remember at Mass we say, on the night he was betrayed, Jesus, on the night he was betrayed and entered willingly into his sacrifice, or into his passion. These are almost in every case people, men, and I sometimes women, I presume, those who die on the battlefield, Debbie, they go out knowing that not only could happen, but in some cases that they know the circumstances that they're entering into, and they know that they're almost certainly going to die. That is not someone who falls, but that is someone who rises to an incredible occasion.
Right.
Thank you.
And, yeah.
Thank you.
Patrick, you're speaking music to my ears, because I'm a big believer in the power of titles and words. And I would agree with you that it's especially for those that are left behind here on Earth. We want to make the fact that they did give their life as positive as we possibly can make it. And
yes.
So I would agree with you. I think it always fascinates me how sometimes we do coin certain things in our country, and it's almost like it's counterproductive in a way, the way we title things, and it always amazes me how we do that. And I don't know who comes up with these titles, Jerry, but it happens quite often. But Patrick, that's really good that you've kind of switched it around, and so made it more of a just a more hopeful thing, as opposed to something that seems like it could possibly be somewhat of a negative. So I'm glad you shared that, though. We're going to do a show on the power of words, Patrick, so you might want to make sure you stay tuned in to Take Two for the rest of the year, so you see which show that is.
I think it speaks to the power of sacrifice. I think it speaks to the power of, as you mentioned, to rise to the occasion, to go into a situation knowing, and I think it speaks to compassion and comfort and healing to those that are left here.
Right on, Patrick, and that's what That's why we call the show Take Two, is you and our other listeners provide interesting and insightful and sometimes very unique perspectives. So thanks for joining us, Patrick. We appreciate it so very much. Have a blessed Memorial Day weekend. 1-800-585-9396. Joanne, we've got... looks like about 90 seconds, but we'll fit you in here listening to EWTN Radio and Denver Catholic Radio out of Denver. Hi, Joanne.
Hi. I want to remember my mother, whose first name was Margaret, but all the relatives called her Margie. And when I was about 4 years old or so, well, I'll say that she passed away in 2007, and when I was like 4 and 5 years old, she used to take me into the church and let me feel the statues, and I'm totally blind, so I have to do everything by touch and by listening and hearing. Mm-hmm. And she used to also, she was a pretty good seamstress, and she made little rag dolls and things for me. Well, she used to take me to a priest. He used to work with me one-on-one for catechism lessons. And
beautiful.
First communion. I remember my first communion.
Mm-hmm. Well, Joanne, I mean, to be able to feel, to touch the statues, I mean, that's a memory, obviously, that has been imprinted on you, and you remember that. And so we're also going to remember Margie as well. I just added her to our prayer book, and so you can take comfort in knowing that prayers will be said for her as well. And thank you, Joanne, for sharing that. I'm always fascinated about the sense of touch and the fact that when you do touch something, as in addition to, like in our, we can see things, but Joanne has to feel things in order to get that same sensation. It always fascinates me because they can. I would love to talk to Joanne more about this, but we don't have time. You can hear the music, but you can sense things so much more by actually touching the statues, and I think that is really beautiful. And so obviously it's made a difference. Wow, Jerry, another great show. Sorry, Chris and Michael from Albuquerque and South Bend, Indiana. You can go on EWTN Catholic Radio Facebook, and you can leave your comments there, Jerry.
We have an encore show on Monday that we really believe you will like. If you didn't hear it the first time it aired, Faith in Foxholes. We're going to talk about faith among military men and women. Our guest, Father Martin King. This is a man's man and a manly priest, and he has served all over the world as a chaplain. So Faith in Foxholes on Monday. Debbie, it's Memorial Day weekend. What do we want to wish people?
Have a beautiful and blessed Memorial Day.